Dear Twin Flame souls out there, welcome to the Twin Flame Awakening podcast, and today is an episode number 52. In today's episode, we are going to talk about how to communicate with your twin flame during the separation, before the separation, after the separation, or overall, how does the communication will look like. Twin flames are very complicated as we know it so far. And often we run across with the problem of communication because there is this separation where we think that our twin flame doesn't care about us, doesn't feel about what we do and how we do, and never reaches out to us. So let's dive into today's episode. Why is it happening? What should you do and what you shouldn't do? Or overall getting the understanding of why the miscommunication is happening. The reason I chose this episode for today is exactly for the fact that we had just a Gemini full moon. And as we know, Geminis are about the communication. And this full moon, Gemini was a little bit tricky. So the communications have been a little bit off and on, and not only with twin flames, overall with people that you feel like you're not speaking the same language and things are more intense. That's what full moons tend to do. They amplify everything. And even, let's say, for example, you had a good conversation with your twin flame and now they're even, let's say, they're coming towards you even more, or it can that they pull off. So it totally depends on the energy. But right before we're going to dive into today's topic, I have something to say. And I think I've said that on my previous episodes as well, but I really want to say this. Because for me, you, my listeners, you, my people, my souls, I really care about you. I want to say something, and I'm going to say that in a as light way as possible because I do not like negative energy or the low vibrational energy, and I'm very careful with the words I choose and what I say. But I want to say something that has been on my heart for some time. And this is not for the fact of saying that somebody's bad or somebody's good or somebody is better than me or worse than me or anything like that. It has nothing to do with this. Another day, one of the girl who I really, really like, and I hope she will come on my podcast and we can have an episode together, Jessica from the Guided Space. I hope those of you who know her, you know, she's an absolutely amazing, and I really like her. And we've been thinking, we are like together, like through Twin Flames, that we are planning to make a podcast episode together, but we never do it. So anyhow, shout out to Guided Space Jessica. She's absolutely fantastic. And she had a short video about the twin flame universe. So now I'm just going to say something, and it's nothing. I'm not here to bring negative vibrations. I haven't watched this, and I'm not even planning to watch this documentary. I am, like many of you know, I am very careful of what kind of information I consume and what do I watch and how do I live in this world, as everything is energy, and I'm very careful of what type of information and things I consume. I just want to say for everyone who is listening, because I realize that I think on this twin flame universe, I haven't seen that, so I'm not an expert to say that, and I'm not planning to even to see this. It's just purely on what I've heard and what I've seen. I want to say that twin flames are not a cult. Maybe in that part it is, but for me, twin flames are love and light. Twin flames is about you becoming your higher self and communicating with the universe, going within and discovering the full potential within. And this takes me to the next thing, what I really wish you would take seriously. If any of you is manipulating you by saying, you need to do this in order to get your twin flame back, you need to pay this amount of money in order to get that, you have to take this course in order to get your twin flame back, you have to do these things, and constantly pushing you to do certain things where you have to spend money and where, like your emotional well-being is getting into the trouble or is, I would really like you to say, please stop. No one else can bring your twin flame back than you and divine timing. That's it. On that process, when we are in a separation and everything, there are things to learn, there are things to discover, there is your chance to become your higher self. And you will thank me one day of realizing how much this separation taught you and how well you are connected with the universe, and now knowing what you should do. So I really want to say, whoever is telling you, you need to pay an amount of this money, if you want this kind of information, pay that money, take this course, now come over here, and you need to change this. Anybody who is pushing you from the, from the space of fear and manipulation, please step out of it. And this is, I know, when we first come into this twin flame journey, we are very fragile because we experience the love we never experienced before, and we want this love in our life. So we are willing to do anything in order to get this love back, and that feeling and this connection and that feeling of being home and this feeling of being connected, which I totally get it. I've been there. I know. I was willing to leave everything behind because I was absolutely like under a spell all of a sudden, or something happened to me that I couldn't understand. But any one of you, and this is so important for me, and I dearly care about you, my listeners, because you are so beautiful. Like each one of you I had a call with, you are absolutely fantastic people and souls. You have the biggest souls I ever met. So I want to just say, please do not pay money for the tarot readers all the time. Do not get into the loops where somebody is telling you, I need to do this spell, or I need to do this one, or I need to do that, and your twin flame is coming back. I beg you, please spend this money on breath work, yoga, Reiki, sound healing, I don't know, even, therapy, or I don't know, any kind of thing that actually really helps you to get to another level and helps you to connect with your soul. I'm not here to be your mom and say what you should do or shouldn't do, but I'm here to say to you that please, if like your twin flame journey is your spiritual awakening, and I really wish you would connect with that, you would understand your soul, and yeah. So again, like I said, I'm not planning to watch this. I've realized it's a low vibrational energy, and I'm not planning to do so. But I'm not here to say that they are good or bad either. I'm not here to judge anybody, absolutely. But I just want to say here is why I always say, the answers are within you. Sometimes we just need help. I needed help to get the answers, and that's why everything I do today is to give you the overview and the guidance, what helped me, what I can do possibly to help you. And once you hear yourself, everything starts to happen to you magically. But we need to pay attention to certain things, that sometimes there are full moons, sometimes there are some energies, portals are open. All of these things are playing a role in our life because we are part of the universe. And everything that is happening in the universe, actually I want to say it differently, we are the universe. Universe is happening inside of us. Every single cell is connected. So these things are going to happen, but what's going to help you, and I keep on saying this, like on a repeat, that journal, do daily meditation, join into the practices such as breath work, sound healing. You can join our group even. We have every other Sunday a call. It's on Patreon for those who wish to join. So what I want to really say that find yourself something that will help you, not where you're going to cash in all the time the money and you'll be dependent on somebody else. And I'm not saying that they don't do a good job. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is listen to your inner voice. That's all I want to say. So yeah, let's go into the communication now. So what to do when we are in a separation with our twin flame and your twin flame is not talking to you? As many of you know that when I first came into that journey, I had no idea that one day this communication will just disappear within a second, and there's going to be a silence for the next 4 months that were so painful and they were so confusing for me that during that time, of course, I came across with an understanding of twin flames, which I didn't want to believe. But here I am today and telling you everything I've learned, everything that happened and why. Also, having calls with you has helped me to see the bigger picture, has helped me to realize how important is the energy and how important is this separation. So because many of you might have a situation where your twin flame is literally not talking to you at all. So what to do when your twin flame is not talking to you? I'll just bring up an example and then we're going to break this down and get some answers. So what to do when your twin flame is, for example, you had a good times together, you were talking to every day, you had this love energy, you were very connected, there was a lot of love, there was a lot of things, and then one day they disappeared. You could feel the shift inside of you where they no longer talk to you. I'm going to tell you that one of the reasons why that happens is that fear. The moment the fear kicks in, we want to run. And we don't want to no longer feel that, because that fear is becoming very strong and you're realizing how you're going to lose control. So this can happen, for example, in the beginning, I would say that many of us think in the beginning, when we come on this journey, that, we just have a great connection, we just have fun, there is feeling like, oh, I'm at home, like everything is so smooth and beautiful. But then this energy is also starting to trigger the fears, insecurities, things that needs to get into the balance. And that is very scary because it takes you out of your comfort zone. For me, it was many things that had to pull me out of the comfort zone. I'm going to tell you, like many of you don't know me in prior to that journey. Prior to this journey, for me to talk with someone on the phone or on the Zoom, like I do today, was something I didn't want to do. Let's say if somebody says, I booked a call with you, let's say Friday afternoon, on Monday I would already panic that I have to Friday talk in front of the Zoom or on a phone. I could not do it. Today I'm doing it because this experience helped me to realize what are the things I need to change and what I'm good at and what is it, like how it works for me. Now I'm becoming more comfortable and comfortable and comfortable, but it was definitely not something I was used to. Same with and since I am a communication, I mean, that terms, I'm Gemini, so I talk a lot, I communicate a lot. And so my twin triggered that inside of me that I have to do it. Or the same with the podcast. As many of you know, I did not want to do that at all. And here I am today, okay? So what I'm trying to tell you is that when that separation happens, there is the fear involved and the growth with it. So it has to happen. If there is no separation, it's not your twin flame. That's how simple it is. Twin flames always have a separation, and separation is quite painful, as we have never felt something we felt with our twin flame. And then comes the fear. They're going to run because it feels so intense and feels so unreal. Even my own twin flame said to me that it was the most unreal connection. He said like, and also impossible love. These were his words, l'amour d'impossible. My French accent, I love it. And that it was so like intense, like he couldn't understand what is happening. So separation will happen, and I understand the pain during the separation, been there and done that. Now, often during the separation phase, there's going to be the day when they're going to reach out to you. Now, let's just talk of the fact of separation. What you should do? Should you reach out, send a text, ask what happened, how it happened, so on and so on? The one funny thing is that you will feel the shift inside of you that something happened, like you feel that they're running. When you first start on this journey, you don't really know that because you don't know that there is a separation, you don't know that there is a runner, you don't know that what is happening. When I now look back, I remember like this feeling that there was a shift, like something happened, like the way I can describe that energy, what happened was like that the house is on fire, like something happened. And so when my twin disappeared, and I was looking at my WhatsApp like constantly, if he has read my message, if he's going to reply, what is happening, why the communication was like that, it was gone. And that obviously made me to, I didn't text to my twin flame. So now it's a question, should you text during this time? Should you send him a message like, hey, how are you? What happened? And so on. I have two answers for that. And there is why we're coming back to this, listen to your inner voice. But it's difficult to listen to your inner voice when you are like missing that person so much. I would say do not, if you can hold it for a longer period of time, do not message. Because there are certain things you need to go through and experience. And if he or she is your true twin flame, they will reach out to you. They will, for sure. I mean, I have no doubt in that. They will reach out to you. So now, in a sense, if you wish to, if you feel like, for example, your twin flame has a birthday in between, I think, yeah, send him a happy or her, send them a happy birthday. Wish them happy birthday, which is, I think it's great. Although I'm going to be telling here that I did not do it on the first year because me and my twin have we have only 3 days apart from the birthdays. And so since mine is before and his is after, he didn't wish for me, I didn't wish for him. That was very from the ego place, to be honest. But also, like, I was so confused. So I'm not so hard on myself that, I should have done it. No, the time was not right. And I had to have these 4 months to realize that I am on a twin flame journey. I would say the best thing you can do during this time is do journal. Everything that comes inside of you, everything. I remember I used to write on my phone everything. And it just comes like a burst out of me. And I was just putting it down. Every single pain, every single thing. Second thing is to talk to someone in between that will help you, or do some spiritual practices, go into the meditation. Although I can say that when the first separation happens, getting into the meditation is a little bit complicated. As there is so much pain and you have to sit with this pain, that's not really fun. So you most probably need either to go some places where they do guided meditation and sound healing, or something that you are there and you can't escape. Because when you do this alone, it's very unlikely that it's going to work. So in that terms, my answer is, should you text during the time when there is a separation and your twin flame all of a sudden disappeared? I think not. Just, okay, if he is your twin flame, he's going to come back. Now, of course, the years can go by and and your twin flame never reaches out to you, which is obviously, and you're still wondering and you're still thinking. I'm going to say here again the same thing, what I keep on repeating and repeating and repeating. You have to listen to your inner voice, that maybe sometimes, yes, it has to be you who's going to reach out. There's going to be the moment where you feel like, oh my God, I have to say this to her or him. But it has to come from the place of love. It has to come from the place of connection. It can't come from the place of, I need you, I want you. If I send you the message, you will tell me back of this and I want this. Your twin flame will magnetically get back to you when you are aligned with your soul. The energies are in balance. And so I just want to say that if you can, to hold, like you need to know inside of you what is the right thing to do. Definitely do not get drunk and don't text them when you are drunk. Just twin flame connection is not like any other 3D relationship. It is a soul connection that is going to lift you to another level. It's going to change you and your spiritual connection. It is a spiritual awakening. So treating this as a 3D relationship, it will not work. So just try to really stay in that terms, like, okay, what can I learn from here? What can I do over here? The pain is there and the love is there, which makes it very complicated because all you want to do is to communicate with this person, and I'm not here to judge you whatsoever. But another thing I really, really want to say is, and this is important, if your twin flame says, stop communicating with me, do not send me messages, do not do not harass me right now, or any of this, then really listen to this. And also when they say, I'm not ready for this mumbo jumbo twin flame thing and this all of that, then I respect that as well. Again, I'm about to say, if he or she is your twin flame, they will come back to you of understanding of this connection. But allow them to experience, allow them to come to that understanding. I know that many of you, what often we do, and I'm not here again, I'm not judging, so I really want to say that this is not coming from the place of judgment. It comes from the place of, I understand you. Is that we send the information to our twin flame, look, this is who we are, in order to hope that they will understand that, oh, yes, I'm your twin flame, I'm coming to you, I'm going to be with you. It will not work again. Your twin flame has to get this information by themselves to realize, okay, this connection is more than just another girl or another boy. It's something way beyond that. And then they start getting the information, and then they realize, oh, this twin flame thing, oh, what, let me look into that. But just sending them that information, they will not get it until their third eye, until this process hasn't happened to them fully. So I'm not here to say that you shouldn't send, but also it will not make a difference when they're not ready for it. So how to deal with all of that when they are not talking to, and what is this whole point that they are not talking to at all? Like literally they can cut off the conversation and disappear, or reply with the short words and so on and so on. Yeah, I have two theories about it. And number one is, of course, it's part of the twin flames where I see myself. The ego was so much involved in my journey that the way I replied to my twin flame was very from the ego placed. I could read my messages millions and millions of times and think, oh, should I say this word or shall I put this word? Should I say this? Is it too much? Is it too little? So nothing actually really came from my heart. Because my throat chakra was blocked, and also my heart was not ready to be so wide open, that is so vulnerable. I was not ready for it. now, of course, today I really have this sense of my heart is so open that yes, someone can break that definitely because it's so open and it's so wide. The chances that someone can break it, absolutely. But I also want to live my life in the fullest, to feel the love, to be the love, to share the love, and experience everything with heart. So if there's going to be a heartbreak, there's going to be the heartbreak. But that's I'm willing. That's the risk I'm willing to take. And so when they're gonna run away and they're not talking to you or they are very like little, there's a fear of the number one fear is losing you or seeing that, oh my God, this is so intense and how I'm gonna put up with that. As we humans, we tend to solve the problems in a 3D relationship, which is again normal. If we come across with our soulmate or even our karmic, not a fan of the word, we can solve these things with the 3D, although everything is energy still. But with your twin flame, you share the same conscious awareness. So everything what you do, everything what is happening is going to happen to them as well. So when you're going to have the fear, oh, he doesn't love me, oh, he doesn't care about me, he did this way, they're going to act on that because that fear is there. So you need to deal with this fear that your twin flame is loving you. You are beautiful. You are capable of everything. So just to, how do I say, you need to really get rid of that fear that your twin flame doesn't love you or doesn't want to communicate with you, or that your twin flame used you for something, which is very often. And I want to say that if he or she is your twin flame, it's very unlikely they're going to use you for something. They have such a big amount of love towards you that they would never use you for anything. But it is extremely confusing connection. And then what I want to say, just based on the fact that when your twin flame says, for example, if your twin flame is married or has a family or something is happening, and your twin flame says, please do not text me or please do not communicate with me right now, or so on and so on, respect that. Pushing and begging and asking is not the way to solve this. Way to solve it is to go within and really, really like touch your heart, go within. We don't like doing that. None of us do, because there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of things we have to sit down with and release and be with. And looking ourselves in the mirror and being totally honest is really difficult. But again, when you go within with your soul and you know that there is this connection, then all you have to do is to send love and connecting within a very loving space. Whatever happens in the 3D, because in 3D we still have our free will, we can do whatever we want, we can get married to whoever we want, we have our free will. But as a soul, sharing the same soul, we are always connected. So definitely one of the strongest way of communicating with your twin flame is through telepathy and meditation and channeling. These are 3 very strong ways of communicating. I have a video where I talk about how you can telepathically communicate with your twin flame, and so what I want to say is, it is painful, and I'm totally aware of that, but you need to connect with your soul, and there are all the answers. Once you connect with your soul, you'll just simply have all the answers. I would like to say that telepathy is definitely one of the strong ways, like, to communicate with your twin flame. Dreams, because if he or she is your twin flame, there's no doubt that they're gonna come back to your life in 3D. There's no doubt in that. I know that the time can feel like forever, especially when you're sitting and waiting and watching your phone, when they're going to talk to you, how they're going to talk to you, why they don't come back to you. We had that love. I know we had that love, and now they're gone forever. There's something they have to learn, and there's something you have to learn. Do not sit down there and wait and wait and wait and wait, because that's what the universe is like. I need you to do this. I need you to experience this before this can happen. And I have so many stories from the fact that many of us meet our twin flames in at different times. Like they've met them twin flames when they were 16 or something like that, and now they are 50 and they re-meet again, and there's a reason for that. So I just want to say that I know there is a time, and I know it hurts. I know. But doing inner work with yourself, and because twin flames is not the end of the journey. Twin flames are the journey. You are on the journey, and the journey continues. There's going to be days when it's up. There's going to be days when it's down. The best gift you can do for yourself is to connect with your soul. Spiritual practices are so important because they are like tools that help you to navigate in this world. When things get too overwhelmed, you're feeling, okay, I need to have a meditation. When you feel your body is aching, when you feel like nothing is working out, you need to pause, and you need to, for example, take a Reiki session, go for a even massage, like energy massage, and so on and so on. I really why I'm talking about it so badly, because many of us are sitting, including myself, I'm not gonna lie here. Many of us are sitting, watching the phone, or waiting for the message, or thinking, what should I write? Instead of putting this into the action. If you want to write something to your twin flame, write it today on a paper. Write in your journal. How do you want to communicate? What do you want to say? Say it out loud. Talk out loud. If he or she is your twin flame, they will hear and get this message regardless. It's going to happen. I have so many examples of my twin flame where I said certain things, I wrote them down on my journal, on my phone. And then one day when we had a real life conversation, he said to me these things, and I was like, wait a minute. I've spoken. I know that. How do I know that? And I go back on my journal and I'm looking and I'm like, wow, I was not crazy. This came to me, this conversation already been here. I had that conversation, yes, on my own, like a crazy person talking to the wall, but it was actually real. This energy came from somewhere. And I also want to say, if it gets too painful, like you cannot no longer, you have very negative thoughts, you feel like the universe is working against you, everything is falling apart. Number one, let this to fall apart, because you need, like the old energy needs to disappear. But second of thing is, know that you've been guided to the right place. I have still not said everything that happened to me, how things fell apart for me, but they fell apart within overnight. So quickly that I couldn't even hold it. Today I'm thankful that I did. Today I'm extremely thankful. Anyways, that's another story for another time. In today's, I'm gonna read you exactly a story from a woman who I said is one of my favorite stories. And it's again to bring, bring some different perspective and realization that every twin flame journey is unique. Every twin flame communication or the way things gonna happen are different. So just, just you need to trust the process and doing the work, journaling, very powerful. I have one beautiful soul from New Zealand, and she's very good at journaling everything down. And when we have a call together, like she can literally reflect back everything and say, these things are happening. I'm not crazy in my head. And I enjoy watching that, because this gives me an understanding if you do the work, like if you go within, then things start to happen to you. And this is something I don't, how do I say? I don't want to put your dream down that you're never going to be with your twin flame. That's not a thing. But sometimes you need to meet someone in between to get back to your twin flame. So be open for the world, be open for the universe. That's the whole process of that. And if you have that knowing, I don't know how to describe what the knowing means, but when you have that knowing that you're going to be with your twin flame, then it's very likely you're going to be with your twin flame. I'm going to read a story from a very beautiful soul, and then I'm also going to read later on what happened after we did our channeling, because that was mind-blowing. All right, let me just go on. So how is that? You are such a blessing, and I love your podcast, which I listen to my way when driving to the city, which I know. First, I'm a 2 times divorcee. The last marriage was ordeal and ended in a nasty battle until I actually ran away. Left the country with my younger son and just 2 suitcases, as he had tried to kill us by putting fire on the house. Seeing how relationship could be destroying, I decided 17 years ago that there will be no more men in my life, and focused on my family and myself. I was doing a lot of healing and learning more modalities. Even when I returned to the country where I was born, I never thought it was my home, and I was always looking for a better place to stay, and therefore traveled a lot, many countries, many continents, searching where to go, what to do. So, I am an energy healer, doing Reiki and many other modalities. I learned NLP, medical hypnotherapy, astrology, nutrition, and etc. I worked 3 years with doctors from Taiwan to help cancer patients with natural Chinese treatments. Since COVID, I work essentially online, doing quantum bioresonance based on a voice recognition system. When looking back on how my life unfolded and all the events and twists that have led me to where I am today, I can identify that the universe was already conspiring me my twin flame journey 6 years ago. But I have to say here that until 4 months ago, I have never heard about twin flames, and I had no idea. This is exactly another very funny thing what she mentions here, so everybody can reflect today, that your twin flame, that actually you've been prepared to that journey. One way or another, you've been prepared to that journey, especially when you're starting to have stronger spiritual connections. I can definitely say that my spiritual abilities became stronger after giving birth to my children, since I was able to give birth within 2 hours, and I realized the power of energy and the pain and so on. So definitely, and during that time I had a woman also who came to me and said about that she met her twin flame, and I was like, yeah, okay, good story. But I was prepared for what is coming. And when I did my soul realignment and Akashic Records, from there on, 2 months later, I met my twin flame, had no idea that this is going to take me where I am today. So, same. So I'm just going to say that if you are spiritually connected, you're most probably being prepared that you're going to meet your twin flame. I had no idea. I live now in a beautiful country, north of Europe. This is the country I call home. I feel from the depth of my heart that this is home. 2 years ago, during COVID, I felt I needed to be more in the nature. I was looking for a house on an island, but somehow nothing worked out. And finally I found a little log house in the forest by the sea in a very small village. When I visited that house for the first time, I was greeted by the cloud of dragonflies. Dragonflies have always been magical omen for me. So I knew I was at the right place. The owner of the house gave me a number to call if I have any problems. The number of the one neighbor that helps with maintaining the house. The next month we had a pipe burst and the house was flooded, so I called that man. When he entered the house with a very big smile, I felt like it was a sunshine at midnight. I had that warm and peaceful feeling, security. So strange. It was not That was not a love first sight at all. I have never looked into blonde guys. I could not identify what was it. Just when he left, I thought this man is so important for me. And I told him to come back any time for a coffee. The things that came out of my mouth sometimes. Never had a man in my house for 17 years, and here I'm inviting a stranger that didn't even speak my language at all. He did come again to fix a little things here and there in the house. My children were teasing me as they also felt the electricity the day before Christmas. On his way out, he pulled me towards him to wish me Merry Christmas with a very big hug. It felt for a split second, I don't know, something like being wrapped in a warm cocoon. If my son would have not been there, I would ask him to redo that hug. But now I leave to regret that I did not ask for it. Because after that he disappeared and he never came back. I couldn't understand why. I was hurting inside and I actually did not know him. I learned that his wife had left, so I assumed he was gone too, and it took me quite some time to take him out from my mind. Life went on, I worked, I did gardening, enjoyed the freedom of being in nature. 1 year later, by then, as I was taking care of my totally dependent mother, it was not easy. I asked my guides what I was doing in this forest. What was the purpose of guiding me here? What I was supposed to do here or learn? The very next day I met my Mr. Nice Guy, not once but twice, as he passed by my house while I was doing the groceries, and again the next morning. And I was too old to be random, so I knew I had something to do with him, and I thought that maybe he was sick and I was supposed to help him. But then he disappeared again. I know he lives nearby in the forest, not even 1 kilometer away, but I don't know where is his house. For years I always have seen numbers, series of numbers guiding me. Since 6 months ago I started to see numbers again. Triple or 4-digit and more and than usually, and since I was working on few projects, I thought angels were giving me support, that I am on the right track. Then 4 months ago, Mr. Nice Guy drove by my house. He was a godsend, as I was looking to someone to lend me a ladder. I stopped him asking if he could lend me his ladder, and I needed to paint the facade up to the roof. He brought his ladder 3 days later, but insisted he was gonna do the painting. And according to him, this was a job of a man, not a woman. Considering that I have a bit of a phobia when it comes to ladders, I was very happy and grateful from that day. He came often, moreover and over. Went out his way many times to help with reparations and with my car servicing, bringing vegetables from his garden. He was so very sweet each time he present, and I felt an immense feeling of peace and security. And I felt myself carefree. He had improved a lot of his English, so we could have some basic conversation with the help of Google Translation. That was kind of a fun. So I started to get to know him a bit better, and I was very troubled by him. His smile, his magnetic charisma, and other things that were troubling me was that the intensity, oh my God, intensity of the numbers appearing. I was literally bombarded, and it was so overwhelming. So I started to read and bit more of the meaning. It was all about life change, new opportunities, and etc. And that created some anxiety in me. I thought if I have to change my life again when I absolutely love it here, I feel at home, then I need to know more and be prepared. So even though I could do it myself, I contacted my friend, astrologer, for a reading. The only big change she could see was a new relationship, a new man. At first I thought she got it all wrong this time. Then I mentioned to her how Mr. Nice Guy was helping me around the house. She asked for his date of birth and checked. That is when she sent me a roller coaster of emotions and surprises. She herself had goosebumps while checking our chart. Long story short, all our planets were aligned. She said you and your guy are completing each other. It's a yin and yang. The strength and potential of this relationship is huge. It's like fated. And I was so stunned. No wonder I was feeling this strange attraction, and I was not even expecting that. And then synchronicities started happening. In terms of twin flames, posts on Facebook, videos on YouTube, articles, everything started to caught my attention. And I was like, what is this twin flame? The description all fitted and had happened to me, my feelings, the separation, and what's happening at the moment. That is how I realized, oh my God, I think he is my twin flame. But how could that be? He was much younger. We could not communicate well, as I do not speak his language, and he is still married. I was so much in doubt. I contacted 3 mediums in 3 different countries. I got exactly the same messages from 3 of them. I was going happy, and I was also panicking. At the same time, he also started acting strange, and one morning he was so grumpy. He actually announced that he would not build the garage he promised to do. I said nothing, but I put on my very unhappy face and I left, leaving him to deal with all workers. I was just so upset. I went to the seaside where I normally go to recharge, resource, regenerate my energy, and meditate. Prayed. Talked to my angels and guides, asking for guidance. And I also applied your blueprint to get into the union. So she means under my blueprint, the one I have on my podcast where I say how you're going to connect with your twin flame meditation. So that's one of the episodes. And I did deep breathing there. It all shifted, my energy, and I was able to go back at home in peace. When I arrived home, he came to me, happy, explained what the worker had done. He was excited like a young child. And finally he said he changed his mind. He would build this garage. I was like, what just happened? How was that turnaround possible? Did my meditation and reconnecting to myself created a shift inside of him too? I felt like magician. Here's what she's describing is very true. Again, why I'm saying it's not about the 3D connection. You need to connect within. Go and do the meditation. Really, please, do the meditation. Connect. I'll put one very powerful song in a link description which helps you to connect with your twin flame, which helps you to feel the energy. And then they often tend to feel it too. But actually at this point, he had been the magician. And by just being himself, around, present, so respectful and courteous, by being so terribly helpful, accommodating, entertaining, and fun, I realized I had made a quantum leap jump in my self-feeling, and I let go of my past, realized that when I thought I was free to live my life, I was actually a prisoner of my own fear, of my men's phobias, my limiting beliefs. I was able then to forgive myself, and I was liberated. For the first time in years, I put on a dress, felt feminine, and I was able to ask help when I needed it. For so long, I was operating from a masculine energy, managing and controlling it all. During my divorce, I had put a lot of extra kilos, a lot of fat around my waist as a protection, that no diet would ever shrink it. And when he entered in my life again, that fat started melting. I lost like 10 kilos in 1 month, not even trying. I was letting down my guard and protection. It is 16 kilos less today, and there are so many things I want to tell him. But because of our language barriers, I couldn't. So I was guided to start a journal and say all if I was talking to him. And here again, she's mentioning the journaling. Many of you who are wondering if their twin flame is communicating, how to communicate, you can see here, she's such a beautiful soul. I met her 2 times on a call. We share a lot in common in terms of language barriers and everything, and also the countries. We share a lot in common. But what is happening when you start journaling and when you're starting to let this out of you, it's going to change and there's going to be a different perspective. So I just want to say, please start journaling if you really want to master this journey. First time I do that and I had such a good therapy. He's a really nice man, a real gift, and I truly enjoy every second I can spend with him, up to the limit that I would not want to cross as he is married. I was starting to wonder about his marriage. Would a happy married man be so nice and do many things for another woman? But he's very respectful. Just last week only, he hugged me briefly to say goodbye for the first time. Finally. I think he's kind of afraid, and he thinks I'm a witch. I was still doubting the twin flame chapter. I decided to do my own astrology chart and I can't say that word. Compatibility study. Very bad, very bad. I can't say it. Just in the case my friends did not calculate properly. So now, no excuses anymore. I could see it with my own eyes, with even more details. I have to say, past 5 months have been life-changing on all levels. I'm not the same person. I think, act, plan, and I sleep differently. I realize when I work on myself, like healing, bioresonance to raise my frequencies, which I do every day, affirmations, he experiencing a shift too, and besides that, he can read my mind on many occasions. But no point of talking about spirituality, soul, past life, guide, and all. He will brush it off. 2 weeks ago, I did a guided meditation on opening the heart chakra and letting go of the old pain and limiting beliefs. The very next day over dinner, he opened up, saying that he's still married, but his wife left him 2 years ago. That was at the time I arrived in the village. That was a great news. I did not want to be ever in the position of breaking a marriage. I could feel his pain. He's still sore about her brushing off after 25 years of marriage. So I know I should work on my abandonment issues and insecurities to help him. We both need to heal that still. I know when I don't see him for 2-3 days, I start imagining all nasty scenarios of losing him because I do not have him. The tensions arise for more. In me, I'm impatient because of my sessions with the mediums, the astrology, the bioresonance, and now who he is, what he likes, his character, his potential, and I know what we should be doing, our purpose and mission. In the early stage, it was very much pull and push. He would disappear for days if I made too direct compliments. Now with astrology, I use the daily forecast to navigate his mood and avoid tension. Plan a meeting when the stars show the way. There are certain times in the best to leave him alone. For example, Last week before 11/11, it was very intense. He was flirting very strongly. I know I had to make a move. We would be in union now. That is not the way I wanted it to happen. I wanted him to have the courage to make that first step, to take responsibility. I want him to feel the desire of it, that he is ready to fight for me. I'm much older than him. I do not want to be the old lady chasing for a younger man, and him just passively following and enjoying it. And then, for 6 days, I did not hear from him. I'm waiting, praying for our divine intervention. The absence and silence are terribly painful for me, and it takes away my focus of work. But overall, it is just good. 5 good months. And I'm so glad, in a way, that he's taking his time, that he's not the kind of to try jump in a bed and think later. And so this is her story, and I wanted to say, and then she got back to me. We did a channeling session, and I just want to take a really short overview. I'm not reading the whole thing, but it was a really, really interesting thing. Update since our session. On the same day, just our call, when I came down, he was waiting. He said he was worried and he did not hear any noise. He worried that something might have happened to me. Thought it was a joke because I did not come out to help him when he arrived. When I looked at the surveillance camera, he was actually walking like a lion in a cage, looking at my room windows many times. He was so worried. Then he offered to go into the forest, something that I was asking the days before. The next day, he offered to go to ice skating. It was such a lovely cold day of sun. Before, he was always very protective about the location of his house. Then on Wednesday, he finally showed me where he lives. His house, his land, his chickens, and all. Not inside, but inside, because he said he's not good at cleaning. And he lent me his daughter's skates. He was sitting on the ice helping me to put the skates, like a queen being dressed. And he helped me as I did not skate for 20 years at least. I completely forgot how. Then he talked about what he has done the day before, ending with a sentence, "That's my life." I really felt after your channeling that he was actually saying, "What's my life? I don't think you want that." But what hit me most was his house. A log house with a beautiful straw roof that he built, facing a prairie next to a water stream where you can bath in summer, all surrounded by forest. And this is the exact picture I have in my mind since I was very young. The ideal place I always wished I could live one day. And I'm not kidding. As I write this, I feel like crying again. This emotion is so strong. Some people dream about their twin flames meeting in prayer, and I was dreaming about this house. It is so weird. That is why I now live in a log house in the forest near the sea. That is the closest I found being my dream place, and it's not even 1 kilometer away from him. And so this story, I hope you got some guidance and enlightenment that, first of all, you and your twin flame might not even speak the same language. There's going to be the day and time where you're going to run into each other. I'm just going to say that those twin flames are over 50-year-old. And what I love about this, that love never dies. And this is beautiful. Love never dies. And if you stay loved, if you're going to follow your heart, and sometimes it comes through pain. Her story shows how she had to escape a country because there was a soul that went absolutely mental, but that guided her where she is today. And that's beautiful. So I just want to say that love never dies. it will always be there. But also you need to be ready to learn, grow, and do other things that will help your soul and your soul's vibration. Everything is energy. And I think she explained very well that whatever job we're doing on ourselves will happen to them. Now it just depends how much they're going to let go of their ego. So the main message for me is love never dies. So whatever happens that your twin flame hasn't got that in touch with you last 2-3 months, 2 years, 5 years, maybe 10 years, if he or she is your true twin flame, the love never dies. You're going to cross paths again. You might have some other partners in between. You might have some other relationships because you came here to learn them. Your soul came to here to experience and learn it. All right, let's going to wrap up today. And again, I'm going to say a few things just as a reminder. On Sunday, on the 3rd of December, we're going to have our group call again. And so those who wish to join, it will happen on Sunday at 12 o'clock New York time and 6 o'clock Central European time on Sunday the 3rd of December. December is going to be the month where I'm going to end the first season of Twin Flames. So I'm hoping that I will bring in some overviews, some guidance, and maybe some stories of those who have come into the union during this time. So just if you find my content useful, helpful, and you like it, so then please subscribe, leave a comment what kind of information you would like to have more. Second thing is that we are going to have a retreat, of course. I'm going to send an email about it, and I'm very excited about it. This is something I'm extremely excited. All the information is on the website, and if you wish to have more information, please sign up for the email list. I want to say that you listening to my podcast, you supporting it, is absolutely fantastic. I think my first podcast said if 10 people will listen to it, I'll be happy. And now I think we are reaching almost 1,000 listeners on Spotify, and we have over 2,000 on YouTube. I just want to say you are a true blessing. You connecting with me is the best gift of a lifetime. So yes, if you wish to support this channel and for more content, it's up on Patreon. And that's it. And for those who wish to share their story, twinflameawakeningjourney@gmail.com, or you can go over the website, twinflameawakeningjourney.com. If you wish to book a consultation call or connect and talk and share, you're more than welcome. I wish you a beautiful day or night, and I hope to see you soon. Lots of love and light.